Smart Update and Local Upgrades. In this nugget, we're going to discuss using the Smart Update application from Checkpoint that will allow us to remotely administer all of our Checkpoint remote installs. What we're going to see is the benefits of using Smart Update to install new software. So one of the first things you're going to notice when you dive into this application is just the benefits and how easy it's going to be to use the application. And that's one of the first points that we're going to see in this particular nugget. So once we have that groundwork established, we're going to walk through all the available options that we have inside of Smart Update via the GUI window. And then after we review some of the GUI window tasks, we're going to look at actually installing a hotfix accumulator package using the Smart Update application. And we'll see exactly how we will use this in a real-world scenario to administer one of your remote Checkpoint devices. And then we will step back and perform a local install of that same type of HFA package where we will FTP that particular package to a local firewall, and then we will unpack it using some of our tar commands and install it using the Unix install script, which is built into the Checkpoint HFA packages. So let's carry on from here and learn about the great application that is Smart Update and local upgrades. Alright everyone, let's discuss Smart Update and local upgrades. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to get into the actual GUI application. So from our standard Checkpoint Smart dashboard, we can select Window and then choose Smart Update. And this will load up the actual GUI application for us. And the first thing that we're going to notice here is we have all of our devices listed where we see our current licensing information that's on these devices. So let's go back to the Packages tab, and I just want to collapse all these so we can get a little bit better visual to see exactly what we have here. Now, if we right-click on each one of these devices, we can choose Get Gateway Data. So that's the first thing that we're going to see here is we're going to use the Checkpoint Remote Installation daemon to go out and fetch some gateway data information from each one of your devices. And once you do that, what it's going to do is pull all the actual software packages and the actual install information on each device into Smart Update so you can get a nice visual right here just to see what you're working with. And it's recommended that you do this whenever you're going to be inside a Smart Update and updating some packages. I like to go through and go ahead and do a Get Gateway Data, and as we can see, it'll go through the status and progress, and it'll update all that information about the particular packages that are available for each one of these devices. So let's go ahead and, like I said, we'll grab all the gateway data here. We'll do this for each one of our devices, and we can do this in a pretty quick fashion for it to go out across the network and grab all this information for us. So let's look through the actual benefits that we're going to use here. Well, the benefits the main thing is, as stated before, is that centralized approach where we can take a package, a new HFA, for example, from Checkpoint, and be able to remotely administer that particular package and install it. Let's say you're in Dallas and you have offices in Chicago, Portland, Hawaii, wherever. And from one location, as long as you have the connectivity in place, you'll be able to push those packages out, schedule an install, schedule the reboot of the actual gateway, and it'll actually do a verification to make sure that that particular package was loaded successfully to that particular gateway, all from one central location. So that's a pretty nice feature, and it's one of the main reasons why Smart Update is going to be a powerful application for us. So let's look through the actual layout of all the particular GUI options that we have available, and then we'll jump into an actual HFA installation using this application. So under File, we have a few options here where we can issue a print preview, a print setup, and we can exit out of this particular menu. And then under View, we have some toolbar information, and under Tree, we can expand all or collapse all by doing this with the tree information. And under packages, this is going to be the big one for us. Where what we see here, we can upgrade all packages on a device. We can distribute a particular package. We can uninstall a package. We can actually do a pre-install verification on a particular device, and we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. We've already saw the get data from, but we also have an option to directly get data from all of our boxes that are inside of our Smart Update application. And under Add here, we have the option to add a particular package from the Checkpoint Download Center, from a CD, or from a file. And we can actually view the repository, and we can see all of our actual information that's available. Currently in our Checkpoint repository, we see the actual R65 HFA50 that we're going to be actually installing on top of our Nugget Firewall B in this particular example for this Nugget. So let's go ahead and actually go to Packages, and under Packages, we're going to tell it to delete it. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to show you the actual package download process as we go through it like you would in your own environment. So if we continue on from here, under License and Contracts, of course we can always detach a license. We can attach a license. We can get licenses from the User Center from a file or manually. We can look at Show to the expired license. We can update our contract information. And we can also view the repository for licenses. Under Operations, we can clear all the completed operations. So down here is our Operations Status menu. So we'll tell it to clear that, and that gives us a blank slate again. And then under Tools, we can do Find, check for updates. We can launch the Nokia Voyager or the Secure Platform Web UI. So this kind of menu right here is pretty standard and common, like our other GUI applications for Smart Update, for example. So under Help, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you get stuck on anything, that can help out as well. But let's go ahead and step through the actual process that we want to perform here to get an HFA package downloaded and distributed via Smart Update. So let's close off of the actual package repository. And what we're going to do at this point is let's go ahead and just minimize these servers or these particular firewalls. And let's take a look at a few things. So let's go to Packages, and what we're going to do is tell it to add a package from a file. And we have an FTP server set up on our client machine here, and this is where the HFA50 package currently is. So we're going to go ahead and select this package, and we're going to tell it to open it. And what I want to show you here is it's going to add the checkpoint package. It's going to give us a status menu. And it's going to show us the actual progress where it's transferring. And we actually see it transferring the particular package from our FTP location into the Smart Update location on our checkpoint management server, or Nugget management in our example. So let's give it a few minutes here, let it copy everything over, and once it gets copied over, we'll look through some other options. But while that's going on, let's look at a couple other things here at the top of the GUI menu. We touched on all these right here. Just want to let you know that these particular GUI buttons kind of do the same thing. So we have the upgrade all packages, we have uninstall a package, we can do a pre-install verification with this. We can add packages from the download center, from a CD, from a file. We can get machine data. We can push software package to an edge object if you have one of the little Checkpoint Edge devices. Attach licenses, detach licenses, the same thing, pretty much where we can grab licenses from the user center manually or from a file. And we can look at our package repository, our license repository, operation status menu, and we can also issue a find command. So, it still says it's in progress, and let's go ahead and give it a couple minutes and let it get this actual HFA50 package loaded into the repository, and then we'll continue on from here. Okay, so we can see that our package was successfully added to the repository for the HFA50 package from Checkpoint. So what we're going to do at this point, now that we have this package inside of the actual repository, we're going to choose Packages, and what we probably want to do is go ahead and highlight this particular firewall as one of your first thing we want to do, and we're going to right click on this, and we have an option here to upgrade all packages, distribute a package, uninstall a package, do a pre-install verification. So let's go ahead and issue that one first. And we're going to do a pre-install verification for this particular package for the R65HFA50. So we're going to run our verification, and it's going to check into compatibility with the install packages. It's going to run through, and it's going to tell us immediately that the Checkpoint Suite R6550 is compatible with the install packages. So it's okay to go ahead and install this on top of our Nugget Firewall B. So that's a good practice that you want to perform. Just do the pre-verification before you go to push a package to a particular firewall, just in case, to make sure that it's going to be compatible. Now this type of thing is going to happen typically automatically whenever you go to install a package anyway, but it's nice to get a good feeling before you actually hit the go button to do a verification. So what we're going to do is go ahead and right click on this again, and we're going to tell it to distribute a package. So what we're going to do is we're going to distribute this package to the Nugget Firewall B, and we have an action here. We have three actions actually. We can distribute and install the package. We can only distribute the package, and we're going to install it later. Let's say, for example, you have a maintenance window in your network where only certain sites can be offline at certain times. You can go ahead and push the packages out to each of your firewalls, and then whenever that maintenance window rolls around, you can go ahead and choose to install it from the Smart Update application. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a distribute and install the package. We're going to allow a reboot if required, and we could also revert installation to image on a failure. So we have that option available as well. So I'm going to go ahead and choose distribute at this point, and we're going to see it's going to run through some options where it's verifying, and it's going to start distributing package information toward Nugget Firewall B. We currently see that it's transferring our file information over to this particular firewall. So let's give it a few minutes, let it go through and get everything transferred, and then run through the install process, and we'll review exactly what happened, jump into the command line, jump into SmartView Monitor, do some verification, make sure everything's nice and happy on Nugget Firewall B, and then we'll continue on from there. Alright, we see the operation details here, and I wanted to show you something that's very important that can bite you every now and then when using Smart Update. As we can see during our distribution process, we can see the actual log process and the steps that it runs through. We see the operation started, it checking the Checkpoint remote installation daemon connection. It looks at the verification, updating machine information. That looks good, checking compatibility, checking the actual package, all that great stuff, testing the package, transferring the package to the firewall, which it did, and then it says it was successfully transferred, and then wham, what do we get? A database lock failed. Verify that the Smart Dashboard is closed before trying to install an actual package from Smart Update toward a management server. Now, the reason why it actually does this is for two reasons. One, to protect you from trying to install a actual policy in the middle of a package being distributed to a firewall that could cause some type of corruption on that particular unit if you did that while this package operation was going on, and just to make sure that Smart Update has the most resources available on the particular management server. It's nice to have the actual Smart Dashboard closed as well. So what we're going to do is go ahead and close off of this for now. We're going to go ahead and close off our Smart Dashboard application. Go ahead and select this one more time, and we're going to tell it to distribute our package, allow the reboot if possible, and all we have to do at this point is just go ahead and select the distribute option. It's going to run through the verification. It's updating the machine information. It's checking the available disk space, checking the compatibility, and it's going to tell us right here. It tells us that the package already resides on this particular firewall, and it says may take some time, and now it's saying that it's actually installing the Checkpoint R65HFA50 on top of the Nugget Firewall B. So let's give it a few more minutes. We see our progress as installing, and once it's installed, we'll look back in our operation details, and it's going to reboot this particular firewall for us as part of the process, and then we'll be able to do our verification. Okay, now we have an option where it says everything completed successfully. So we're in great shape. So we see the entire process where we went through the actual install from the start, where it's going to start the operation, it's going to run through everything, it's going to get to the point where it's actually going to install that particular package, and it says installation completed. It's going to initiate the reboot, it's going to try to reestablish the connection, and it's going to do reboot completed successfully. It's going to check the remote installation daemon again. It's going to run through a verification on that particular firewall. We're going to be looking for some data. It's going to say operation completed successfully, updating machine information, and then it finally gives us a status here that the install operation completed successfully. So we should be in great shape. So let's go ahead and go to Window and jump over to Smart View Monitor. And this is going to take us into our standard firewall monitoring application that we're going to use to monitor everything. And let's go to Nugget Firewall B. And as we refresh this, we see our version is HFA 50, hotfix 650, and everything looks great. And our uptime is about 7 minutes right now since the install completed successfully. So let's go ahead and minimize this. We're going to jump over to the actual command line, and once we log in here, let's just take a look at a couple things as well. We'll run our FWVer. Alright, that looks great. So we have everything installed, it pushed, and we're in great shape at this point. So we see the beauty and how easy it is to use Smart Update to administer your packages for your environment. It's really going to help you. So now we're going to move on to actually performing a local install of our HFA 50 application hotfix via the command line. So we're going to push this type of install toward the command line, because you can ask two people, and a lot of people are going to tell you they love the Smart Update, and some people like the hands-on access of updating everything via the command line. It just really comes down to how many applications and how many devices are you going to need to update. If you have 6, 8, 10 firewalls, you may be able to schedule the correct maintenance windows where you can just go in via the command line and install your hotfix accumulator package. But I do have one soapbox moment that I need to address before we continue on. Before you install any type of hotfix accumulator, any package, any update to your checkpoint infrastructure, make sure that you have an accurate backup via the CP backup application off on a different location. So what I mean is, once you create the backup package, get it off the firewall, FTP or SCP it somewhere, get it off the box. Just in case things do go south, you have a backup package where you could just install the previous software versions, restore the backup, and you're up and going in less than an hour in most cases. So with that, just make sure you have an accurate backup, so you're not standing there when things do go wrong and you can't recover the environment, which isn't a good feeling. So from now, let's go ahead and get off of this particular command line for Nugget Firewall B, and we're going to look at installing the hotfix via the command line over to one of our firewalls in our cluster. Okay everyone, so let's take a look at installing that hotfix accumulator for HFA 50 onto our backup cluster member for Nugget Firewall 1B, or secondary firewall in our cluster. So what we're going to do is go ahead and open up PuTTY here, and under PuTTY, let's go ahead and connect to that particular node, and we'll log in. Go ahead and jump over to expert mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and clear our slate, and let's do our actual FWVer command, and that'll tell us that we just have a base install of Checkpoint R65 build 430 on the box. So what we're going to do in order to install the hotfix accumulator via the command line is we need to get the package onto the box, and I have a few best practices that I like to share with you that I typically do on most checkpoint installs that I perform. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump over to the actual var directory on the box. And the reason why we're going to do this is typically if we issue a df dash h command, we can see our particular file size that's being used on the actual install of this firewall. And currently our var directory only has 7% used, and it says that we have 11 gigs available. So there's plenty of space there for unpacking a package and installing it. So we're going to use the var directory as our staging point for installing any HFA in your Checkpoint secure platform world. So let's go ahead and clear off of this. Go ahead and do a cd to /var, make sure we're in there, and we're going to list here. Now inside the var directory, I created a folder called HFA just using the mkdir command. And if we cd to HFA and we list what's in there, what we see is this is the actual Checkpoint R65 HFA 50 package. So it's inside of this particular directory. Now how do we install it? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to unpack this particular hotfix, and when you do that by issuing a tar-xzvf to the package name, and what we're going to see here, once we actually issue the enter command, it's going to unpack all the files that make up this tar gunzip file. So it'll take just a couple minutes for it to get everything unpacked. And the main thing to remember whenever you're dealing with an install via the command line, you're going to see an actual application or a script right here, which is the Unix install script. And that's going to be your best friend for installing any hotfix accumulators via the command line. So let's give it a few more minutes, let it get everything unpacked, and we should be ready to continue on with the install. Okay, the actual package is unpacked at this point, so we're going to issue the actual install application at this point and get that actual package deployed. So let's issue a dot and then a slash, and then we're going to do a capital U for the Unix install script. We'll hit enter here, and it's going to ask us, do we want to install this particular hotfix accumulator? So we'll say enter for yes, and it's going to stop the Checkpoint processes and then run through the actual install. So whenever you're installing a hotfix accumulator, just like anything else, you got to have your maintenance window in order to successfully install it without causing an outage, because it's going to need to reboot the box and stop the Checkpoint processes to get the job done. So let's give this a couple minutes, let it finish up the install via the command line. We'll run through some verifications, and that should pretty much take care of our world of smart update and local upgrades. Okay, so we can see the actual install via the command line has completed for us. It ran through the actual installation. It went through for each one of the packages. It says VPN1 power for UTM NGX R65 HFA. That succeeded. The performance pack was not installed, so that was skipped. The R65 splat is already installed, and the advanced routing is already installed on this particular node. And it asks you, or do you want to reboot this particular node in your cluster? Now, one other thing to keep in mind here, whenever you're working with clusters, you have to always make sure that the software build is exactly the same. So by that I mean, whenever we install HFA 50 on our backup firewall, we need to have that installed on our primary firewall as well. So typically what you'll do in this type of situation is go ahead and install the HFA 50 to your backup firewall, get it updated, get it running, go ahead and bring it up into your cluster configuration. You're going to get some errors and different things about that the cluster process is not in sync and different things like that. What I recommend you doing is at that point direct your load on your cluster over to your secondary firewall, and then CP stop your primary firewall, and then go through the actual upgrade process. So That's usually something I like to do if I can get a maintenance window. If not, you can pretty much fail over a cluster once it has the updated HFA package on it pretty seamlessly to the secondary firewall simply by stopping your primary cluster member inside of the SmartView Monitor application or by issuing a CP stop via the command line. So what we can see, and we'll test that out, that theory, and just see how it goes for us here. So let's go ahead and do this for now. Let's go ahead and say yes, and we're going to reboot this particular firewall. And it says that the installation program completed successfully. So let's go ahead and let it reboot. We'll give it a couple minutes, and we're going to actually stop our primary cluster member, which is handling our current load right now, and see if things fell over for us nicely. Alright everyone, I wanted to show you basically what we're going to do as part of that upgrade process that we perform via the command line on our Nugget Firewall 1B. As we can see here, what we did is we went ahead and rebooted that particular firewall, and when it came up, we went ahead to the Nugget Firewall 1A, right-clicked on it, went to cluster member, and told it to stop that particular member. Now, what we can see, just for verification, I went ahead and went out to cbtnuggets.com, and that's loading just fine for us. So if we go to the command line for another bit of verification, and based on our topology information, let's do a trace route out to 4.2.2.2, which is my favorite IP of all time, if you don't know by now. Okay, so we're tracing correctly. We see the 1020.1.3 as our secondary firewall, which is our Nugget Firewall 1B. Right now it's in attention status, and that's perfectly okay. It's telling you, hey, something's wrong with your cluster. I'm the current active member based on the traceroute information and the IP, but there's a problem reported here. So during your actual upgrade process, like I said, you can upgrade your your backup firewall, go ahead and CP stop your primary, let things fail over properly for you, and then upgrade your primary. And once you upgrade your primary, just go ahead and put it back in the cluster, push your policy out, and you're good to go. Now, the other part to remember, your management server needs to be at an equal or higher level than the firewalls it is administering. Meaning if we have HFA 50 on our firewalls, we need to have that on our management server first as well. So, once we have that in place, we'll be in good shape. So that's just pretty much a standard rule. Whenever we're doing any kind of upgrades, you typically upgrade your management first, get it at a certain patch or revision level, and then you're going to upgrade your firewalls. The actual management could always be higher, but you want your firewalls to be at a lower or equal revision. So that's the second point to remember. So with that, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we need to know about Smart Update and local upgrades. So let's continue on from here and close out this particular nugget. In this nugget on Smart Update and local upgrades, we learned some valuable information about using the Smart Update application in order to remotely administer the packages and licensing information and any kind of hotfix accumulator installs on our Checkpoint devices. We saw the actual benefits of using Smart Update to install new software, and we saw just how easy this application is to use and how well it's going to work for you to install any kind of packages that Checkpoint releases on your current infrastructure of products. Then we looked at the actual GUI options that were available inside of Smart Update to help you become familiar and become comfortable with what each tab and menu can do for you. Then we went through and actually performed an HFA package install on our Nugget Firewall B using the Smart Update application, and that worked out great for us. And then we went through the actual command line install of a local HFA package where we unpacked the package and installed it via the Unix install script on the command line on both of our cluster members is what we ended up with. So I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.